Hello and welcome to this information session, which we hope you will find useful and informative. And just to say, I apologise for the delay in coming in. We were having some minor technical difficulties, but we are now ready to go. So let me just share my screen. So my name is Karen Whelan and I am the Participatory Arts Support Manager here at the Arts Council. My co-presenters are Anya Crowley, who's the Programme Manager, Arts and Engagement at Create Ireland, and Roisin Power-Hackett, who is the Programme Support Officer at Arts and Disability Ireland. We are joined by my two colleagues, Carol Magnani and Amy Delamere, who are both supporting us today. The session is also being captioned by Judith, and ISL is provided by Aoife and Ciara. The presentation is being recorded and will be made available over the coming days. The purpose of the session is to give you a brief introduction to each organisation and the awards offered by each. Both my co-hosts and I will give a short presentation and we will finish up with a Q&A session. Cameras and mics are switched off. Please feel free to add your questions to the Q&A, which we will answer throughout if possible and at the end when all presentations have been completed. To note that each organisation may provide separate information clinics on specific awards they offer, and you can find information on these through their communication channels. I will start the presentation for the Participatory Arts Awards offered directly by the Arts Council. The Arts Council is the national government agency for funding, development and promoting the arts in Ireland. We work in partnership with artists, arts organisations, public policy makers and others to build a central place for arts in Irish life. The Arts Council strives to respect, support and ensure the inclusion of all voices and cultures from all sections of society, from existing and new communities and from all social backgrounds, ethnicities and traditions that make up Ireland today. We are underpinned by our strategy Making Great Art Work, which has been extended to 2026, during which we are developing a new Arts Council strategy for the coming years. Information and updates on developing our new strategy will be communicated through other channels, such as our website, social media platforms, and our e-newsletter. Participatory arts refers to a range of participatory, collaborative, community and social arts practices. All approaches involve professional artists working with communities in the development, creation and/or presentation of artistic work. Community partners are not arts professionals, but they are artistic co-creators, influencing artistic content, outcomes and outputs. Artistic goals often coexist or encompass other areas of focus, for example, social connection, social justice, human rights, community development, climate action, health, and other areas. You can access a schedule of all funding opportunities on our website's homepage. While every effort is made to ensure these dates are accurate, please note that some dates could change over the course of the year. This list will be updated accordingly and communicated regarding any changes through our social channels. On our website, you can also find support and advice in the following sections. Introduction to our funding application process before you apply, preparing your application and submitting your application. You will also find information on how we assess your application, after your application is assessed, what happens next, and disability access supports. So I'll just go through the funding opportunities that are available through Participatory Arts. There are a number of awards available in Participatory Arts for both individuals and organisations. And there are also a number of awards that are managed by other teams, such as Touring of Work Scheme, residency schemes, etc., which may be of interest to you. Just to note that today I'm concentrating on awards for individuals offered directly by Participatory Arts, which I will now give a brief overview of. The Agility Award will support applicants in participatory arts to develop their practice, develop their work and develop their skills. Funding can be requested between 1.5 thousand and 5,000. There is a change in 2026, which is mentioned in our Bursary Award guidelines, where applicants cannot apply for both the Bursary and the Agility Award in 2026. And this applies to other bursary awards that the Arts Council offer. The award is for applicants who have never been funded before, for example, applied as an individual artist in their own name and not part of a group. But please check the award guidelines when published for any updates and changes before you start preparing your application. The closing date will be late in April and the window of application will open in March. Information clinics will be announced via our social media platforms and newsletter. And please contact Agility Award at artscouncil.ie with any questions. The Bursary Award supports professional artists with a track record in participatory arts to develop their own arts practice by spending time on critical reflection and evaluation, researching, thinking about developing a new idea, working with a mentor or collaborator to assist in developing or upskilling in a particular area, developing an idea in collaboration with potential partners or other artists, to take a short period of training such as a masterclass or other professional training opportunities. And you can also apply for a small amount to cover off materials as well. That can't be more than 15% of the overall award. So the Project Award, the Participatory Arts Project Award supports professional artists and arts organisations with a track record in participatory arts to work collaboratively with communities of place or interest. The activity will take place within a specific period of time, which is 12 months. There must be an artistic outcome and applicants can apply for an amount up to 60,000. It's for once-off projects and does not support ongoing costs or to maintain projects. So more information and details are available in our guidelines. Arts grant funding is an award to support professional artists and arts organisations to undertake a programme of work. So this is more than one project. And these also must take place within a specific time frame, which is also 12 months. We must have a track record in participatory arts, working collaboratively with communities of place or interest. There's no limit to the amount that can be requested. However, we do work to a budgetary constraint. The next round of arts grant funding will be for projects taking place in 2027. So just please again check the award guidelines when they become available for any updates or changes since 2025. So other ways the Arts Council can support artists. Artists and arts organisations may also find opportunities for funding and support via organisations funded by the Arts Council and through our partnerships with local authorities or key organisations such as Pave Point or further education institutions. Organisations funded, for example, through arts grant funding may provide open calls, offer residencies or offer small awards and also mentoring opportunities. And our resource organisations are there to provide support and advice to artists. And they would be Arts and Disability Ireland and Create, who we have here today. There's Age and Opportunity and Railta, and they are just specific to participatory arts. So you can find out information on who we've funded on our website, and you can access a list that can be sorted by award, by year, whether it was an individual or an organisation. And while I don't have specific examples here today, you can look these successful applicants, check out their websites and that. And if you're looking for examples of artists, you could look at Fiona Whelan, John Conway, Michelle Brown. That's just to name a couple, Marie Brett. So these would be all have a very good track record in participatory arts. So I'll just go through when you are actually applying for funding, the different things that you might need to take into account. So guidelines are typically made available 2 weeks in advance of the window of application opening. We suggest reading the guidelines, including the technical requirements, before you start writing your application. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to contact a member of the Participatory Arts team. We will have the details here and at the end of the session. The guidelines are set out in sections, so you can read them one section at a time. Set aside plenty of time, as I said, to go through the guidelines before starting your application. They are long, but they do contain all the information you need to support you writing your proposal. The application form is available to download from your online services account. Please read the instructions at the beginning of the form. Once downloaded, save the form to a file where you can easily find it. And on the form, click into the grey box for Microsoft Office and the pop-up box for Open Office Writer. There are guidelines all the way through. Again, it's set out in the award guidelines, but reading the form in conjunction with the guidelines is advisable. The supporting materials, all of the awards have a number of mandatory documents that need to be submitted in addition to your application form. These are outlined in each awards guidelines document. Gather all your supporting documents and save in one file where they are easy for you to find when it's time to upload. Name your documents so they are easily identifiable to us. We have included examples in the guidelines document. If possible, put all like-for-like supporting material into one document. For example, all CVs into one document, all links and examples of work into another document. Read the guidelines to ensure you have the allowed versions of Word or OpenOffice and links and platforms that are accepted. So in order to make an application, you need to have an online services account, and we generally refer to it as OLS in case you hear that acronym throughout the presentation. If you don't already have an online services account, then you must register for one. It'll take 5 days for your registration to come through, and you will receive an ARN and password by email. Check your spam and junk folders if the email does not come directly to your inbox. If you've already registered for account and can't remember your ARN number, please contact us and we will provide it. Don't register for a second time. So once you've gotten access to your online services account, you can go in and update your personal details, your bank details, and if successful, this is where you will draw down your payments. The guidelines have 4 pages with each step on how to apply and submit your application. Again, take time to read through this. Eligibility. Applications are checked for eligibility to ensure all mandatory documents are submitted and the proposal meets the criteria of the award. Your application will be deemed ineligible if you miss the deadline, do not upload the mandatory supporting material, submit an incomplete application form, apply for the incorrect award purpose, and submit the same proposal that was assessed in a previous round of funding. If you request the above or the amount stated, and that's specific to some awards. So getting help with your application, we have a number of areas where you can get help with your application. So if you have questions about using the online services website, visit the FAQ section on our website and the link is there. If you have technical question about the online application process and your question is not answered in the FAQ, you can email onlineservices@artscouncil.ie or call the Arts Council on 0161 80 200. If you have a query about your application that is not technical in nature, you should email or phone the arts teams to which you are applying for funding. So that's Participatory Arts at artscouncil.ie or 0161 80 216. You can watch our video guide to making an application on YouTube. So it's www.youtube.com/Arts Council demos. And you can also have personal disability access support. If you have a requirement in this area, please contact the Arts Council Access Officer by phone, which is 016180 200 or 016180 243, or by email access@artscouncil.ie as early as possible before the deadline. And we also have Vanessa here on the call who is going to support us today with any access queries. So personal disability access supports. What we can do is help understand and plan your application, help you upload your application form, discuss your personal disability access costs. But what we cannot do is help you with the content of your application. And again, and I think it was the wrong email address I said last time, it's disabilityaccess@artscouncil.ie. Personal disability access costs can be requested in addition to the main award. So this is above the maximum amount that you're allowed to request within the specific award guidelines. These can help remove barriers that make it more difficult for disabled artists to work. They are individualised supports relative to the artist's scheme and proposal. So some examples are ISL interpretation between artist and collaborator, additional time, transport costs, etc. We also have post-application a support that can be provided. And we also have Keith on the line here who will answer questions here or can give some advice. Sorry, on my one slide. So if you were an artist and you were getting a disability payment from the Department of Social Protection, any income that you get from the Arts Council might affect that payment. We cannot say exactly how this will apply as there are many variables, such as employment status, spouse's income, your specific disability payment, etc. If you are successful with an application, the arts team that is awarding the funding can issue you a letter to give to your Department of Social Welfare office. You can use this letter as confirmation of how much of your award is income and how much of it is costs or expenses. This will also outline how that income is calculated, given the total fee and a breakdown of daily rate, days per week, weeks per project, etc. And any queries about this, please email payingtheartist@artscouncil.ie. And here's just like a brief example of what we can include in the support letter for you. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you found that informative, and apologies if you could see my notes throughout. And I'm going to now hand over to Anya Crowley from Create.
Thanks, Karen. So I'm just going to share my presentation. First of all, I want to apologize. I have a bit of a cold brewing, so if I'm sniffling or taking a sip of water throughout, it's just I'm just feeling a little bit under the weather. So I'll share my screen. Oh, a moment. All right. Now, just a moment. So first of all, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Anya Crowley and I'm the Program Manager for Arts and Engagement with Create. And with my role, I support artists and also communities around their collaborative practice, but I also coordinate creates management of the artists in the community scheme. My colleague Tatiana De Santos also works very closely on the scheme as well. So some of you may have met Tatiana over the last year or two. So I suppose just to give a little bit of a framing around Create and what we do. So Create is the National Development Agency for Collaborative Arts. As a resource organisation, we provide advice and support services to artists and arts organisations who work collaboratively with communities in a social and community context. But also we support communities who want to collaborate with artists. I suppose ultimately our mission is to lead the development of collaborative arts practice by enabling artists and communities to create exceptional art together. Much of what we do is in partnership with other organisations, so very much like the practice, we really rarely work alone. So as an organisation, we offer a broad range of services, but kind of some key ones for today are the Create advisory sessions. So these are really about, I suppose, the thinking through of your practice. So it offers you a space to meet with one of the team to discuss your developmental needs and perhaps maybe potential projects or a project that you might have in mind. We offer these all year round, and you can access or book them either contacting us via our info@ email, or there's a booking system online. But also, if you're attending these, it might include project development for a potential artist in the community scheme application that you have in mind. We also provide vetting services for the arts. I'm not the right person to give the details on that. My colleague Neil would be able to answer any questions you have around that. But also a new addition to our services is our new reading room, which opened last year. And I suppose ultimately that space offers a wealth of different books and periodicals. There's pamphlets, so all relating to the development of social arts practice in Ireland, but also beyond. And you can engage with the reading rooms, either booking in and having a self-directed exploration, or you might have a one-to or guided exploration of what we have. And you can also book research clinics with my colleague Jennifer Fitzgibbons, who's the Research and Learning Manager. So to find out more information on that, you can have a look online. But also what's available is there's both shared space and private working space for artists to use. I suppose before we go into the details of the scheme, I think it's important for us to look at collaborative arts and Create's interpretation and definition. So we say that I suppose we define collaborative arts as a practice that involves artists and communities working closely together, often over extended periods of time. So you'd often hear us use the word durational. So ultimately, artists spend time working together to make art. Artists must aim to plan and develop the work from the earliest stages through to completion in collaboration with the group or with the community, with the individuals, rather than seeking participants to join a pre-planned arts project. So we have a full definition of collaborative arts on our website, but also I suppose other things that are, I suppose, more nuanced ways of explaining or expressing collaborative practice. We would always say that it contests notions of authorship. It's a very challenging area of practice, and that's both in terms of challenging in a rich way and also in a demanding way, because it does, it demands very different approaches to traditional arts practices. So you often find that an artist is wearing many hats, in terms of an artist, a practitioner, but also maybe project managing, so on and so forth. But we often would say, I suppose, that a lot of work that happens collaboratively often exists outside the typical gallery space or traditional theatre. And we often find that it's interdisciplinary. So we often find that it's more than one artist working with a community, and perhaps maybe it could be a musician and a visual artist, or an architect and a dance artist. But I suppose ultimately when we also see, I suppose, what's really important to say though is that what it's not, I suppose, is artists who are collaborating with arts professionals. So an artist must be collaborating with communities. I suppose also what's at the core of the practice is co-creation and democratic decision making. The projects are often based on themes that affect or influence everyday people in their everyday lives. And the projects often engage communities who may not normally engage in the arts. And what we find is that the projects always have or often have a purpose or meaning to the community rather than, I suppose, an art activity where people are just joining to make work without a purpose or meaning behind it. So, for example, John Conway worked on a project New Normal, where the project was delivered for breast cancer survivors and resulted in a publication that was available in hospital and care settings across the country. We have a load of examples of projects that are available that are on our website. So I really do advise people to go on and look at the case studies to see the various projects that show really good examples of collaborative practice. So with the Artists in the Community scheme, so Create manages the Artists in the Community scheme on a devolved basis for the Arts Council. There are several award opportunities underneath the scheme. So we'll just go through them, an overview here, and then we'll go into the details of them. So with the awards, the first one is the AIC Scheme Awards, and there's 2 rounds each year, so September or March and September, excuse me. And there's 2 awards available. So there's Research and Development with and without mentoring, and there's also Project Realization Awards. So that's the AIC Scheme Awards. Then there's an Artist Residency Award, and that's also known as the AIC Catalyst Residency Award. So there's 1 award and 1 round, and that the deadline will be the 7th of April. And then there's also the Artists in the Community Scheme Artist Mentoring Award, where there's 5 pairings. So the artists are paired with 5 mentees are paired with 5 mentors. And there's 1 round of that, and the deadline will be the 27th of April. And then we have a Bursary Award, where there's 2 awards, but there's only 1 round. So we announce all of the awards 7 weeks pre-deadline. So ultimately, there's a 7-week window for you to prepare your application. There's also a range of advice and support services around the scheme that we offer. So there's information sessions. So we offer these in the lead-in to deadlines. So in these sessions, we go through what the award offers, eligibility. An artist also joins us to talk about their experience of applying for the award. Sometimes a community member might join, and then there's space for a Q&A. Keep an eye on our newsletters and also social media. And what we strongly recommend that both the artists and the community attend these sessions. We also offer AIC application advisory sessions. And I suppose what's important here is to differentiate between the ongoing create advisory sessions and the AIC application advisory. So to just remind us that the create advisory sessions about thinking through your practice and around talking, about your developmental needs, or potentially an AIC project. And these are offered all year round. But the AIC application sessions are designed to focus on getting your application together in the 7-week window that the award is open for submission. So particularly for a project realization award, it is important that both the community and the artists attend those sessions. I suppose it's also important, to say that you shouldn't be contacting community that you're interested in working with you should be contacting a community well in advance of that 7-week window. So if you're interested in working with somebody, I would say that 7-week window where the applications are open, it's a very, very short time to be starting to build or develop a relationship. All of that work should be done well in advance of the award window opening. So please do avail of the advisory support services that we have. But what we also offer is that if someone's applying for an Artist in the Community Scheme Award, that we offer pre-application access support. So this is for people with disabilities or access requirements. So over the last number of years, we've increased we've increased supports to remove barriers for applicants to the scheme. So this might include perhaps maybe an artist might want to write in their mother tongue, so we can pay for the translation of an application to English, so it's comparable to for the panel. Perhaps maybe so an artist or a community member might like to have ISL, so for an information session, we can support that. Or perhaps maybe an applicant is more comfortable in using audio to record their application, and then we can support getting it transcribed so that it's you can then input it into the application, so it's comparable for panel. These aren't fixed or prescriptive. We're very much open to conversations with people on how we can best support. And what I strongly recommend is that you get in touch with us as soon as possible to discuss what those supports are so that we can do our best to line it up for you. We also offer project support. So for anyone who's successful, we are there to support the project. There's no question too big or too small. We're very much there to journey with an artist or an applicant or community member should they have any questions. But also for those who are unsuccessful, we really value feedback as an important part of the process. So if you're unsuccessful, we see this as an opportunity for you to come and meet us and have a conversation, and for us to look at a way and how we can support you constructively. Just to give you a sense of I suppose the stats around advice and support services, in 2024, 63% of the proposals that were deemed ineligible were from applicants who did not seek advice from Create before applying. So we really do recommend that you do reach out to us and do it as soon as possible so we can line that up for you. So with the AIC Scheme Awards, again, there's 2 awards. So there's Research and Development and Project Realisation. And again, they're open twice yearly, and it's open to artists working across art form at any stage of their practice. I suppose the scheme is really unique in that it centres the community at the heart of the artistic process and also the application process. So that's what very much makes the artist and the community scheme very different. The communities ultimately are co-authors from the very beginning out to the end and out to the making of the work. Ultimately, the aim of the scheme is to encourage a meaningful collaboration between professional artists and also communities. And you'll often hear us say communities of place or communities of interest. And I suppose to break these down, when we say community of place, we mean a community that is brought together by a shared place, or perhaps maybe they live in a similar place, or they work there. Also, community of interest might be a group who are united based on a specific interest or cultural or social context. It could be questions around climate or housing, migration, so on, or it might even be both. Also, I suppose when we do say community, we do mean it in the broadest sense. But again, it can't be a community of artists. And also, communities can be formed because of their interest in a project. So it's not that a community has to be pre-existing. In terms of for the Artists in the Community Scheme Awards, there are 6 priority areas that I suppose that come under the objectives and priorities of the award. So ultimately, your proposals should reflect, they should value the creative contribution of all collaborators while providing an opportunity for artistic challenge and experimentation. They also should, make sure to include multiple voices. So particularly when you are defining the values or the beliefs and the purpose of the project, but also when you're making like practical decisions, like around, the artistic or conceptual decisions also all around the project. So the third priority is that they should consider the artistic quality, but also the quality of engagement between the artists and the community. So this is from the planning, the making, and the presentation of the work, and also including the evaluation of it also. And also number 4, that they should show, us as our proposal should show us that there's active support and commitment from all collaborators and partners, if there's partners mentioned. And 5, that we need to understand what the project's about and how the project will respond to the community's need or interest. And the final one is to consider what might be needed to support the project longer term. So I suppose often what happens is that a project might have a life beyond the AIC funded award. So I suppose we ask for people to consider what would those supports look like. So in terms of the Research and Development Award, so the purpose of the R&D is to support proposals from artists who wish to collaborate artistically with the community. So it was introduced to the scheme to provide the opportunity for an artist to explore, test out an idea, and undertake the preliminary development of a project in a community and social context. So it's the artist who applies for the award, and the artist receives the funding to support the work. So I suppose what we do say is proposals should be ambitious and innovative and visionary. And I suppose when we say that, what it can't be is, I suppose, an application that's just proposing a series of workshops to come up with the idea. We need a lot more context as to what this potential project is about. And we say, or there's a maximum time frame of 6 months. That's not to say it has to be 6 months, but it's to say that I suppose for the amount available, it shouldn't be any longer than 6 months. So there's 3 awards under the Research and Development Award. Excuse me, just one moment. So there's Research and Development Award without mentoring. So that's the maximum award amount of 3,500. And then the Research and Development Award with mentoring is the maximum award is 4,500, of which 1,000 is specifically to engage a mentor for the artist. And then there's the recent graduate award with mentoring. And again, it's the maximum award is 4,500, and again, €1,000 specifically to engage a mentor. But the applicant can also apply for an additional €1,000 or up to €1,000 to cover additional supports that they may need. So this award recognises, I suppose, that fragile space that an artist might be in. So it's particularly for an undergraduate, not a postgraduate. So for that additional money, you might perhaps maybe look at additional expertise, such as working with a journalist or a community development worker, or perhaps maybe it's needing more time to develop partnerships or additional desk research. With the R&D applications, what's really important, I suppose, around your support material, along with the regular support materials, such as your CVs and examples of previous work, and any evidence of financial support, you must also include a letter of support from the community. So the letters of support, or perhaps maybe their expressions of interest, they should come from the actual people or the group who will be actively collaborating with the artist. So these letters ultimately show us the genuine community interest and involvement. We understand that not everyone can provide an actual letter, so we are very much open to WhatsApps or email threads, whatever it is, whatever the means are that can best support your community to articulate their ambitions to be part of the project. But what I would say is, don't take the easy option and kind of go, oh, look, it's easier to gather few WhatsApps. I think, find the most meaningful way for the community and your collaborators to express their interest. We have this all outlined in the guidelines, but what is important about that letter, you need to be specific. So it should describe who is supporting the project, do they have specific roles, why they're interested, but also their ambitions and hope for the artistic collaboration. If there's a letter of support from a lead organisation or a support organisation, it must focus on the community support for the project, not just the organisation's desired partner. A letter from an organisation, it can't be like an endorsement letter, or it can't be written on behalf of the community. For example, an organisation assuming that there's a group of people who would be interested, or perhaps maybe they might do a call out to their community for participants. So that it can't be that. For any application that is with mentoring, you must also provide a letter of support from the mentor and also their CV. But the letter must include an agreement just outlining the mentor's fees and how much they'll be paid, with the breakdown of that €1,000. So how many sessions, for argument's sake. I suppose I just want to say the importance of these letters. It's not that we don't, most certainly are not intending to ask you to do extra work for no reason. The importance of these letters is that the last thing you want is to come up with to be working on an incredible research and development idea, and get funded, and for the community to say, well, I'm not interested in working with you. But also in terms of the mentoring, We have had cases where when fees weren't outlined, perhaps, or a mentor or suggesting a much higher rate than the artist anticipated. So what it does, it starts to clarify all expectations, and that's one of the most critical things about this work. The pre-application stage and the R&D is about removing all of this, I suppose, the grey area, and getting clarity around what we're doing, what we're committing to, and everyone's clarity on everybody's expectations. But just coming back to the mentor must be an arts professional relevant to the field of collaborative arts practice. So the mentors are there to support you, the artist, not just the project. So the role of the mentor is to support, I suppose, the development of your own practice and your, I suppose, your thinking around your collaborative arts projects. For example, if you chose to work with a producer as your mentor, their role is not to produce the potential project, but to support your production knowledge. What we often find is actually most artists opt to work with other artists and not necessarily art form specific, because I suppose this practice is about the practice. And sometimes the art form can become secondary when it comes to, I suppose, artists working with each other in terms of mentorship. I suppose what I would say is that in your letters, make no assumptions. We need to understand the why and the who. It's always important. So with a project realization award, the aim is to support proposals from the community. So again, this is what makes it a very different award. So it's for communities who want to collaborate artistically and undertake an arts project with an artist or more than one artist. So ultimately, any professional artist can approach a community with the view to taking on a project realization application, and equally, a community can approach an artist. But the project realization must be community-led initiative, and it's the community that makes the application to the scheme. It's important to say you don't have to apply for a research and development award in order to apply for a project realization award. But what we do see is that the applications for project realization are much stronger and clearer when a research and development phase has been done. And that could have been supported through different funding or different means, or the artist in the community scheme. So in terms of the project realization, there are times when a lead organization when an organization supports the application. But again, what's really important is that the collaborating community members must be the ones developing the project with the artists. For example, I suppose an organization can't develop a project on behalf of a community with the view for them to participate in it, nor can the application be about doing a call out for community members, or at that, a call out for an artist. The artist has to be engaged in this application. So I suppose what I would say, just remember, it's a co-creative process. The practices along with the writing of the application. So the voice of the community members is so critical. So it's a very different form of application writing as well, when it can, I suppose, artists are often used to leading that process. As I said earlier, the community leads on this application, they're responsible for submitting it. However, it's important to clarify that we know that I suppose the application is written together and in consultation with one another. And there's in the application, if you're not familiar with it, there's a section in the application form for the community and also the artist to complete. So they do it together. So in terms of the award, the time frame is usually from 8 months to 12 months. And the maximum award amount is €15,000. And as I said, you don't have to apply for an R&D in order to apply for Project Realization Award. Excuse me one moment. So before I talk about the Bursary Award, I just want to clarify one thing, because it's a continuous area of confusion. The difference between a project, so an artist in the community scheme Project Realization Award, and a Bursary Award. So as we've just discussed, the primary focus of the Project Realization Award is the co-creation and the making of a collaborative project between an artist and a community. But the primary focus of a bursary, which we're going to talk about next, is the artist and the exploration and development of the artist's collaborative arts practice. It might include collaborative workshops or project elements, but the delivery of a project is not the primary focus. So just to clarify that. And I would say, it's if you're going to do yourself a favor this year, really drill down on the difference between those two, because it can be such a disheartening or an upsetting experience when an artist applies for a bursary with a project idea, or vice versa. So with the bursary award, so the AIC bursary, the primary focus of the bursary is the artist and the exploration and development of the artist or collaborative process or practice. The award is intended to support the professional development of the practicing artist, but it also allows the artist to consider key questions associated with their collaborative arts practice and collaborative methodologies. It's aimed at an individual professional artist, so it can't be two artists or a collective, but the artist must have a track record of collaborating with communities. One of the two bursaries is specifically for an early career emerging artist. So just a tip that in the application, you need to identify your stage of career. Now, we understand that there's many artists who have an established studio practice and might be emerging into collaborative practice. So consider what stage of practice you're taking, particularly in awards where there's a ring-fenced award, because you might actually be doing yourself out of an opportunity, if that makes sense. I suppose with the AIC Bursary Award, it's very different to the Arts Council Bursary Award in terms of who it's aimed at and the resourcing around it. I suppose to give you a bit of context, it's very much a developmental bursary. Its evolution came out of a program of work that we had been doing via the AIC scheme that specifically looked at supporting artists who had identified as being marginalised or underrepresented in the arts. So with this award, I suppose we're deeply aware that within the arts in Ireland that there's many inequalities still exist, and that there are many artists who experience barriers to engaging with and developing their practice due to their gender, sexual orientation, civil or family status, religion, age, disability, race, membership of the travelling community, or social economic background. So this bursary has been informed by both the Arts Council and creates equality, diversity, inclusion policies, and it's aimed at an artist who identifies with the experiences as described. For this bursary, I suppose it's for an artist who's facing a particular challenge or barrier in developing their collaborative practice, but we don't require the artist to focus on these barriers. That's really important. That's up to the artist if that's a priority. What it offers is 20,000. So its maximum amount is 20,000. But in addition to this bursary, it offers bi-monthly mentoring from Create, and that can be with any one of the team members. Excuse me. Or it also offers up to 2 mentoring sessions with one of the experienced collaborative artists who are part of the artist mentor panel, and you can find out more information on them on our website. But also it's supported by a suite of partners who are there to support the successful artists with up to 2 mentoring sessions where appropriate. So the partners are there to support the artist's own lived experience. So say, for example, partners include TENI, they include the National Women's Council, the Irish Council for Civil Liberties, ADI. So it's a very diverse range of partners. In terms of what you can use the bursary for, similar to the Arts Council's bursaries, but ultimately it's about working out your practice, including critical reflection and evaluation. It can be for researching, thinking about or developing new ideas, and that might include working with mentors or partners or other artists or other arts professionals at that. It also can be around developing or learning new skills related to your practice, or if you choose, addressing the barriers or challenges that you've experienced. But also you can use it to undertake a short period of training, or as a limited amount can be used for equipment. I suppose just a reminder, and again, a tip is that we do not expect anyone to produce an artwork. That's not what it's about. And also, I suppose a tip as well as what we see is that we often see applicants set out their intentions. So we kind of get a sense of what they will do, like I will work with a mentor, but little clarity as to why you want to work with the mentor, who the mentor is, and how you'll work together. So when you're approaching applications, think about all of the why, what, who, and how. They're really critical. And again, never assume that we will know. So the next award is the Artist Mentoring Award. So ultimately, this is for emerging collaborative artists, or those who have a mid or established individual arts practice and might be transitioning into collaborative practice. but it's also aimed at artists who find themselves in the margins or feel feel that they're underrepresented in the field of collaborative arts, for example, due to displacement or migration or disability. And also it's for an artist who are experiencing a particular practice-based challenge in developing their collaborative practice. So it offers up to 5 mentorship pairings with one of the panel's 5 collaborative so one of the 5 collaborative artist mentors. So there's also, as part of the program, there's in-person events, such as the mixer event with all the mentees and the mentors. There's also a 2-day training program designed around the mentees' needs. And also the mentees have access to create programs such as our Create Collaborative Arts Training Program, and also the Networking Day. This program is very much mentee-led, so you need to come with a project in mind. So yeah, in terms of mentors, I would say go on the website. There's a really rich spread of practitioners. Mentors have included Catty Coughlin, Gilles Sebastian, Deirdre O'Mahony, who else? Grace Diaz, Toby Balagoon, and there's loads more. In terms of, and then the final award that I'm going to speak about today is our AIC Catalyst Residency. So this is offered in partnership with Create and the Fire Station Artist Studios. And it offers, the award offers a collaborative artist from an underrepresented ethnic background a 1-month residency in Dublin during the month of June. So the residency is intended to be an artist-led incubation period, so allowing the artist to develop the practice, maybe look at networking, or maybe there's targeted supports that they need. And I suppose as partners, we work with the artist to identify those and also to look at what those supports might look like. It's also the award. The artist is supported by a residency coordinator, and it includes accommodation and a studio space combined at the fire station, also a stipend, and there's an additional budget for things like travel or mentoring or maybe additional training. So we very much shape that budget around what the artist needs. So just a final note, we have updated our applications and our guidelines and applications. So our guidelines have been reviewed. They're now in plain English format. They might look longer, but it's just that they're formatted a lot more clearly. But also there's a glossary of terms. It's really, really important that you read the guidelines. And I suppose I can't state it enough. You'll understand immediately if you're eligible, or if you have any questions, you can literally just drop me an email or drop my colleague Tatiana an email. But also it will outline what you need to prepare for your application. It might take you 1 or 2 hours, sometimes maybe more, to read the guidelines, but it's worth it because you're going to spend an awful lot more time getting your application together. And it would be really unfortunate to discover that you're ineligible because of an assumption that you've made. So just please read them. And if there's anything unclear, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk through with you. Again, you should start planning your application, the actual application itself, no later, I would say, than at least 5 to 6 weeks before the application deadline. You do need time to do this. You also need to give your partners time. In terms of the applications, they too have been updated to plain English. And there's also now tooltips, because we've realized that there's a lot of kind of reoccurring misunderstanding around certain words. Again, as I said, for information sessions or advisory sessions, they are for both the artists and the community. When it's a co-collaborative or it's co-created or collaborative process, both of you should be there to have the discussions. And in terms of, I suppose, just some observations that we've just picked up over the last while, we do see a lot of applications that predominantly focus on well-being, maybe things like building confidence or self-esteem, but often they're without sufficient context. So I suppose if you are working in the area where and the project is specifically looking at looking at maybe well-being, it's really important that you look at, I suppose, the context of the project, the thematic focus, so that it's really clear for those assessing it to understand the artistic ambition and also the approach beyond the well-being impact alone. Also, what we're seeing is a lot of signaling language and vague intentions. And I kind of mentioned it earlier, a lot of like what you want to do, but not the who or the why or when or how. So we just, I would say, be intent, get someone else to read your application and ask them to repeat back what it is you set out to do, because it's really important that it's clear for the panel. The panel are rooting for you to fund you. Um, and also something that is a big reoccurring issue for the artists in the community scheme is that we see a lot of projects proposing more participatory methodologies as opposed to collaborative. So, for example, we might get a proposal where the application is it's the application, the idea is very much thought through and set out by the artist. So really the artist is only looking for the community to participate in realizing the project with the artist, as opposed to the artist wanting to co-create the project from the very beginning with the artist. Now, these projects are so incredible and amazing, but they just don't fit the purpose of the award. So it's just I don't want people to waste their time. The last thing, I suppose, in terms of before I hand you back to Karen, is that Aaron outlined the different access supports that are available for the awards. They all apply to the IC scheme as well. But if you have any questions at all around access or the different support services that we offer, just you can drop us an email, and we've got info@create is probably the easiest one to find us at. And also share both my Tatiana and my email should you want to connect with us. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Anya. That was really great. You're a natural presenter. Now we move on to Roisin. And Roisin manages the Arts and Disability Connect scheme with Arts and Disability Ireland. So she will bring you through this next presentation.
Thank you, Karen. Just to note, yeah, Vanessa is going to share my screen for me, and Vanessa, I will just tell you slide when it needs to be changed. Thank you very much for doing this for me. Okay, so I'm the Program Support Officer at Arts and Disability Ireland, and Arts and Disability Ireland, also known as ADI, is the national development and resource organisation for arts and disability in Ireland. ADI describe ourselves as championing the creativity of arts and disability in Ireland. We do this in partnership with the arts sector. Today we will be talking about the Arts and Disability Connect scheme. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to read the text on the slides, and I will give brief image descriptions as well for some of it. I'm going to talk today about the New Work Award, the Research and Reflection Award, the Mentoring Award, and the Training Award. I'm going to talk about who the scheme is for, about eligibility, and I'm going to talk about the different types of awards. I'll give you examples of artists who have received funding, and I will talk a little bit about the types of support that applicants and people working with applicants can receive. So let's get started then. Slide, Vanessa, please. So the Arts and Disability Connect scheme is funded by the Arts Council on Corla Allian and managed by Arts and Disability Ireland. Since its inception in 2014, the scheme has supported 211 awards led by artists with disabilities across a range of art forms. For 2026, we're currently finalising our budget. The scheme is designed to support artists to be ambitious, to develop their practice, and to connect with arts organisations and arts professionals in the Republic of Ireland. Slide. This year, the Arts and Disability Connect scheme has 2 rounds. Round 1 opens on Monday, the 23rd of March and closes on Tuesday, the 12th of May at 4 p.m. Round 2 opens on Monday, the 10th of August and closes on Tuesday, the 29th of September at 4 p.m. In both rounds, you can apply for either the New Work Award, the Research and Reflection Award, the Mentoring Award, or the Training Award. Slide again, please. So for more information, please look at adiarts.ie/connect. And we recommend that you read the guidelines of the award you are applying for carefully and in full, as all the other presenters have said about their awards as well. Slide. In 2026, we will be launching a new online application portal to apply for Arts and Disability Connect using submit.com. The platform will be launched on the 23rd of March on adiarts.ie/connect. And you can email connect@adiarts.ie if you have any questions about using this platform. And we'll try to help everybody because we know that this might be a big transition for some people. So slide. So who is this scheme for? It's for individual artists with disabilities. It's for professional artists at all stages of their career. It's for artists who live in the Republic of Ireland. And it's for artists working in the following art forms. So architecture, circus, dance, film, literature, music, opera, street art and spectacle, theatre, traditional arts, and visual arts. Please note, it is not for people who have a craft or design practice only. Okay, slide. So, are you eligible to apply? The Arts Council and Arts and Disability Ireland take our definition of disability from the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This states, persons with disabilities include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which, in interaction with various barriers, may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. You will see in the application form, you will be asked to make a declaration. So using this definition, are you a person with a disability? To be eligible for this scheme, you need to tick the box yes. Slide. Next, I'm going to talk about the 4 different award types that we offer. So there's the New Work Award, where you can apply for up to €15,000. There's the Research and Reflection Award, where you can apply for up to €5,000. There's the Mentoring Award, where you can apply for up to €3,000. And then there's the Training Award, where you can apply for up to €1,000. Next slide, please. So first, I'll talk about the New Work Award. And slide again. For a New Work Award, artists can apply for up to €15,000. This award is for artists with a strong track record in their professional practice. The minimum amount you can apply for is €8,000. For this award, you will need to make and present ambitious new work to an audience with the support of a presenting partner. Presenting partners can include arts organisations, venues, art centres or arts festivals in the Republic of Ireland. I will give you some examples of who those presenting partners can be in a moment. Slide. So the funding for the New Work Award can cover your fees, your audience access costs, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, other artists and collaborator fees, production fees, and production costs. Slide again. And here is an example of an artist who received a New Work Award. HK Níoshireadán is a Dublin-based theatre maker, and in partnership with the New Theatre and with the support of Rough Magic and creative producer Lisa Nally, HK presented the comedy musical Beards. This performance tells a farcical tale of hope and resilience about a brother and sister who are both gay in the Middle Ages. On screen is a photo of 4 actors wearing colourful clothes on a stage. The actor in the foreground is lying down, leaning against steps, heavily pregnant. She is holding hands with an actor behind her. The 2 other actors are standing up in the background. So, slide again. Next, I'll talk to you about the Research and Reflection Award. And for the Research and Reflection Award, you can apply for up to €5,000. This funding is to help you think, research, reflect, and critically engage with your practice. It can also be used to start new relationships with presenting partners, to submit a new work application in the future, and to create other strategic partnerships with arts organizations and arts professionals for future development. The unusual thing about this award is that your fees can be up to 100% of the award itself, if that's what you need at this moment. The focus of this award is on buying time for you, so that you can cultivate and think about your practice and research in order to create work. It is important to note that the purpose of this award is not to present new work. You may trial or test ideas amongst peers or a closed audience group, but you cannot have a final presentation as part of the Research and Reflection Award. So slide again, please. And the Research and Reflection funding can cover your fees, your materials, and again, for the materials, it's always 15% of the overall award, similar to the other awards that have been presented here. So then your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland and other artists and collaborator fees, if that's applicable. Slide again, please. And here is an example of an artist who previously received a Research and Development Award, as the Research and Reflection Award was previously known. Owen O'Malley is a visual artist from Wicklow. Owen used this award to research and develop themes. He worked on a series of storm paintings. He worked with videographer Luke Brabazon and artist and writer Claire Scott to document this research phase as he works towards seeking out future exhibition opportunities. On screen is a photograph of artist Owen O'Malley in a wheelchair wearing a stripy apron in the foreground. Behind him are 3 abstract storm paintings on easels. The paintings include layers of colour in both bright vivid tones and muted tones with squiggly paintbrush strokes on top. So, slide please. So next we're going to talk about mentoring. Artists who wish to engage in mentoring opportunities can apply for up to €3,000. This funding is to provide mentoring with an experienced arts professional. Arts professionals can include artists, choreographers, curators, directors, producers, and people working in arts organizations. During your mentoring process, you must meet with your mentor at least 6 times. You will talk about issues in your practice and share information and advice. Here you can work with an arts professional to solve a problem you've identified in your practice. If you need help with finding a mentor, you can contact us. Next slide, please. So the funding will cover your fees, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, your mentor's fees, and your mentor's travel costs. And slide again. And the one restriction with this funding is that only €1,500 can be spent on the mentor's fees at most. This is to ensure that you as an artist are paid for your time. Slide again. So here's an example of an artist who received a mentoring award. Roisin Nyachten is a visual artist and writer born in Switzerland and living in County Kildare. She completed a mentorship with Brian Maguire in 2022. For the mentorship, they held a series of critical conversations about her arts practice and its development. On screen is a painting entitled The Shadow by Roisin Nyachten. It measures 80 by 80 centimeters and is acrylic on board. It is very thickly painted and shows a portrait of a figure, possibly a woman, with no hair, yellowish skin, and ears that stick out. The background is abstract, painted in shades of grey and blue. Above the figure's head is a thin line of orange paint, stretching from one side of the painting to the other. So slide, please. And the final award is the Training Award. Artists can apply for up to €1,000 for a training award. The funding for artists who wish to engage in professional development and other learning opportunities. You could use this funding to attend classes, workshops, and short courses to learn skills in your art form. You could attend arts events so that you can learn more about your art form and make connections with people working in the arts. You can also use it to apply for things like residencies and other professional development opportunities. If you prefer, you can approach an arts professional who has a skill that you want to learn, then tailor-make a training program with them that could be centered around things you want to learn in your practice. And it can be a one-on-one training situation. Yes, so the funding will cover your training fees, your materials, and your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland. Slide. So here's an example of an artist who received a training award. Rory O'Shea is a musician who also produces the Candlelit Tales podcast. For his training award, Rory completed a course at Walton's New School of Music. This consisted of 12 hours of one-on-one Irish traditional guitar lessons with professional tutor John Sweeney. On screen is a photograph of Rory O'Shea playing his bouzouki for a YouTube recording in the summer of 2022. Rory is wearing a grey top with sleeves rolled up, a black beaded necklace, and green patterned bandana. His eyes are closed and he's playing the bouzouki with 2 microphones in front of him. In the background, there is navy blue damask fabric. So slide, please. So a reminder of the time frame. Round 1 opens on the 23rd of March and will close on the 12th of May at 4 p.m. Round 2 opens on the 10th of August and will close on the 29th of September at 4 p.m. If you are applying to round 1, all of the activity in your application must happen between August 2026 and July 2027. If you are applying to round 2, all of the activity in your application must happen between January 2027 and December 2027. So slide. Now I'm going to talk about access. Slide again. What are access requirements? Access requirements are things that take away any barriers that might stop you from completing your proposal. Below are some examples of access requirements. An artist with a physical impairment may need a venue, rehearsal space, or meeting space to have level and/or lift access. If an artist experiences anxiety, they may ask their presenting partner to respond to emails within 1 working day. An artist with an intellectual disability may need to work one-on-one with one person over a long period of time. A deaf artist may need an Irish Sign Language ISL interpreter to communicate with cast and crew whilst rehearsing for a performance. While some access requirements incur additional costs, others may have no costs. So slide. What are personal access costs? If you have access requirements that incur costs, you can now apply for personal access costs. Personal access costs are costs that remove barriers for you or other collaborators with disabilities who are involved in delivering your proposal. These costs will be additional to any funding which you are awarded. There is now a separate personal access cost budget in our application forms that you can fill in if you have personal access costs. So slide again. Thanks. Here are some examples of personal access costs. Alternative formats, such as audio, braille, large print, etc. Irish Sign Language, ISL interpreters. Loop systems in rehearsal or gallery spaces. Personal assistance, speech to text, sighted guide, transcriber for playwriting or literature, etc. Slide again. Accessible travel, such as taxis, accessible meeting, rehearsal or studio spaces with toilets, wide doors, lifts, ramps, quiet spaces, etc. Accommodation, subsistence and travel for PAs. Extra time, rental space costs and fees for cast, crew or collaborators. Rehearsing performances or installing exhibitions, etc. So slide again, please. So this is an example of a personal access budget. To apply for these costs, fill in the personal access budget, which is after the activities budget in the application form. You must write each type of access requirement on a separate line and the amount it will cost in the column next to it. Then add up all the personal access costs and fill in the total box. You will need to include in your supporting documentation a separate document detailing what your personal access costs are for you or your collaborators and outline how they have been arrived at. You don't have to apply for personal access costs if you don't need them. You can leave the personal access costs budget blank. Please read the what are personal access costs section of the award guidelines that you're applying for. So slide again. So next I want to talk about the types of support that we offer for you to make your application. You will find recordings of previous information sessions and other interviews on YouTube and SoundCloud. For round one, we have a live Come and Ask Questions session on Zoom on Wednesday, the 1st of April in 2026 from 12 noon to 1 p.m. And then for round two, we will have a Come and Ask Questions session on Zoom on Wednesday, the 19th of August in 2026 from 12 noon to 1 p.m. You'll be able to book these, or at least book the one for round one, once everything has been launched on the 23rd of March. So next slide. Slide. Oh, maybe this is it. Arts and Disability Connect also offers one-on-one support to artists. We call this applicant support. Applicant support is for up to an hour of support, either on the phone, by Zoom, or by email. During this time, we can review a draft application and give feedback. You could also use this time to ask us questions and bounce ideas off us. This time is limited to 1 hour per artist to ensure that we can support as many artists as possible. Information on how to book these will be available on our website again at some point after the 23rd of March. For round one, applicant support sessions will be available from the 10th of April until the 8th of May. And for round two, applicant support sessions will be available from the 28th of August until the 25th of September. And if you have any trouble booking applicant support, please email connect@adiarts.ie. So slide again, please. So this is how to apply for the scheme. Step one, visit adiarts.ie/connect. Step two, click on Apply. Step 3, read the guidelines in full. Step 4, complete the application form. Step 5, upload your application files. These files can include your arts practice CV, the CVs of the people you want to work with, which could include your presenting partner or any other people you've named in the application, letters of support from your presenting partner or any other people named, as well as examples of your work. These can be images, texts, links, videos, and audio. We recommend that you choose examples that are relevant to the application. And then step 6, once you've completed the application and have all the relevant files uploaded, submit your application. If you're not familiar with using submit.com, please get in touch with us at connect@adiarts.ie. And next slide. That brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you to the Arts Council and particularly the Arts Participation team, including Anne O'Connor, Karen Whelan and Karen Magnani, who work with us on this scheme. And thanks to Vanessa for moving the slides. And if you have any questions, please get in touch at connect@adiarts.ie. Thank you to everybody, and I'm looking forward to answering any of your questions. So